Dave Gorman, and I think that modern life is good-ish. Of course, some of it's just good, and that's good, but some of it's more-ish, and that's interesting. And so I guess that's the stuff I want to discuss. I've loaded up my laptop with stuff that will help me explain my case, and I'll steer us through it using this remote control. Now, whether you think it's a good thing or a bad thing, I doubt there are many people here who would disagree with me when I say that in our modern lives, the role of Christianity is in decline. I suppose you could measure that in different ways. You could look at church attendance, for example, or you could look at what people say about themselves on the most recent census. But I think the most telling index is surely the how many stories Metro publish about the face of Jesus appearing in strange and unlikely places index. And when I talk you through the number of Jesus face stories published by Metrograph, you'll see that there has been quite a steep decline recently. In 2009, there were 5 Jesus face stories. These included Jesus' face being found in a Kit Kat, a Cheeto, the window of a man's car, the surface of a woman's iron, and the inside of a lid from a jar of Marmite. Now, in 2010, there was a big increase. There were 9 stories. But then in 2011, we were back down to 6. And in 2012, there was just 1. And while 2013 isn't complete yet, as I speak to you today, there are just 2. So far this year, only 2. So you can see there has been a worrying dip since the 2010 heyday. Now, in many cases, people see these things and say, well, it's hardly even a face, let alone Jesus. And yeah, some of the time, they've got a point. But then every now and then, there's an example that I think everyone has to acknowledge is pretty stunning. Like this one. Face of Jesus appears in naan bread. This one is truly incredible. There it is. And if I just show you the photo in close-up, you can see that the face in there is really good. If I adjust the picture, it becomes even clearer. Now, ask yourselves, is that the face of Jesus? To me, I think, well, it is if you think it is. To me, it's not. To me, it's quite clear who that is. If I just bring his face through, here you go, it's starting to show now. It's quite clear to me that that is Jason Orange from Take That, isn't it? Well, you have to ask, why would the face of Jason Orange from Take That be appearing in naan bread? Could it be magic? Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Now, the numbers might have been in decline, but for me, the quality of the stories has improved. In fact, my 2 all-time favourite Face of Jesus stories are the 2 from 2013. I'll do them in reverse order. This is stunning. Tattoo fan finds face of Jesus on his shirt after £900 ink job. Let's have a proper look at this. I mean, come on, that is amazing, isn't it? What's happened here is this man's had a large tattoo on his back, and to save his own clothes from getting blood and ink on them, the tattoo parlour have given him a plain white T-shirt to wear, and when he's looked at the back of it later, there's this incredibly detailed face of Jesus. The article quotes him as saying, "It was amazing. It's like the Shroud. My family and friends' jaws dropped when they saw it. And surely that can only mean that he showed them the shirt before he showed them his tattoo." What the hell is that? This is a man who doesn't understand how printing works. What is remarkable about this happening? Nothing is remarkable about this happening. Did this man not do potato printing when he was a kid? It was amazing. It's like the Shroud. Yes, I think he solved the mystery of one of the most debated religious artifacts of all time there, hasn't he? It's not the shroud that Jesus was wrapped in after his crucifixion. No. It's the sleeping bag of a man who had an all-over body tattoo of Jason Orange. What the hell is he thinking? Now, bear in mind, this is only my second favourite. This is my all-time favourite. Image of Jesus Christ appears on T-shirt in spilt fabric conditioner. Okay, here it is, and here's the picture in close-up, and I have to say, you seem a little bit disappointed. As if this is somehow not as good as the tattoo one. But it absolutely is my favourite, and for a very good reason, which is that I made this one. Now, Metro don't know that I made it. Not yet, anyway. I imagine they'll find out soon enough. I sent it in using the fake name Martin Andrews. But if you don't believe me, I have the T-shirt with me here tonight. Here it is. If I turn it the right way up, sort of, you can see that is the same image you can see on the screen. I made that. I made that myself. I made that. It wasn't fabric conditioner, by the way. It was bleach. And I didn't spill it. I used a stencil and cotton wool and great skill. Now, there is a reason that I said it was fabric conditioner, but you'll be able to work that out for yourselves pretty soon, I imagine. Now, you might well be asking, why did you do that, Dave? Well, it's obvious, isn't it? I did it because I was concerned about the graph, wasn't I? Someone had to do something. Someone had to do something, ladies and gentlemen. And I thought that someone might as well be me. Now, before I emailed them the picture, I studied the form a little bit. I think my instinct was to represent it as though I was really credulous and I thought it was a real miracle. But when you look at how they cover these stories, you can see that's not really necessary. They might love these stories, but they don't take them seriously. They love to throw a few puns around. For example, when they did Face of Jesus Christ spotted on side of a Chinese takeaway in Sunderland, they captioned the photo, Egg Fried Christ, right? When it was Jesus on a drain pipe in Coventry, they opened with, is this the second plumbing? But you get the idea. They never present these things as actual miracles. They're always reported with an arched eyebrow and a, as if, tone of voice. And it's not as if everyone who spots them in the first place is completely convinced either. For example, the person responsible for the drain pipe story is quoted as saying, we're not entirely sure it's the Son of God. It's not. But taught to us after an afternoon's drinking while watching the football, and we may well change our minds. So I decided that's the tone I would adopt in my email from the fictional Martin Andrews. I figured I'd try to write my email the way they write up the articles. I'll give them a pun or two. So this is what I wrote. I'm hoping this might give you a bit of a laugh. I recently ruined a T-shirt by spilling some fabric conditioner stuff on it, gutted. But when I put it on, I noticed the stain looks amazingly like Jesus. Well, it does to me, right? You can see this is written from the point of view of someone who knows what they're up to. It carries on, when the T-shirt's the right way up, it doesn't really look like anything. But when you look at it the other way up, it's really him. I showed my mates at work the picture, and one of them said, I've heard you can find comfort in Jesus. You're giving yourselves a round of applause for working out why I said fabric conditioner and not bleach. I love you. I love you. But you found Jesus in comfort. There you go. I'm basically writing their article for them, and I'm doing all the work. It sort of looks like he's juggling, and I think you can agree, it does. It absolutely does. But if you ignore the blobs above him, it's really clear. It's like he's standing with his arms out, like the Fonz. And for younger viewers who don't know who or what the Fonz is, that wasn't me having a stroke. The Fonz was, as Wikipedia confirms, a character played by Henry Winkler in a sitcom called Happy Days, and that was my not very good impression. But anyway, that's the email I sent them, and as you can see, the article quotes the Fonz line and the comfort gag, so it's pretty much mission accomplished. But the weird thing is, once it's out there, you have no control over who else will run with it. You lose control of it completely. This is the International Business Times. But it was also in Newsmax and YourJewishNews.com. A country radio station from Lafayette, Louisiana at 97.3, The Dog was talking about it. Kicking Country 100.5 were talking about it. Loads of American radio stations ran with it. It was being talked about all over the world by weirdos who thought, well, it is important. And as you can see, Web Pro News decided that the fabric softener Jesus had gone viral. I had created a viral fabric softener Jesus. But you don't just lose control of where it appears, you also lose control of how it is reported. Sir, would you say, you've seen the email, you've seen how Metro reported it. Would you say, sir, that Martin Andrews, the fictional protagonist in this, was convinced that it was an image of Jesus?
No.
No. Would you say he was resolutely claiming that it's Jesus?
No.
No, but the Christian Post would. That's their version of it. Now, the Metro article, it didn't actually quote Martin saying that it looked like a juggler, which was a bit disappointing because the most frequent comment I read on the various versions of the story all over the world was effectively people going, Martin Andrews, you idiot, looks more like a juggler than Jesus, actually. All right? But, sir, how do you think Martin felt about those comments? Do you think he was upset by those comments? It's almost an impossible question, isn't it? Because he's fictional. I made him up. Yeah. But let me put it this way, sir. If you were trying to work out how Martin felt about those comments, you'd have to try and ask him in some way, wouldn't you? You wouldn't just say that he was undeterred in his claims that it was Jesus, would you? No. But the Christian Post would. Yeah. According to them, he's undeterred. Now, let me give you a little comprehension test, sir. This is from the Metro article, right? We've all seen this already. You can see in there, it says his workmates found the whole incident hilarious, and he personally thought the image looked as if Jesus was posing as Franz from Happy Days. Now, having read that sentence in the Metro, which is presumably the source article for this, would you say, who is it, sir, that thinks it looks like Franz? Is it him or his workmates?
It's him.
You think it's him, yeah. Would you find it weird if someone said his workmates were insisting it looked like the Franz? Especially that use of the word insisting, which sort of implies that he is resistant to the idea and needs convincing. That'd be weird, wouldn't it? Yeah. Not if you're the Christian Post, it wouldn't. No. They're insisting. They've insisted that it looks more like Fonzie. Is it just me who finds all that a bit, un-Christian? It's weird. It's a relatively long article in the Christian Post. This is just the start of it. They managed to write more than twice as many words as were in the Metro. And there were so many versions of the story out there in different media, I was basically skim reading them by that point, which explains why one word really leapt out at me here. The scriptures make it clear that we live in the age of redemption, whereby God is revealing the Son, Jesus, to people on earth. He does this in both word and deed, said Winkler. My heart stopped. Thought they haven't gone and contacted the Fonz to see what he makes of it, have they? I was panicking. I don't want to harass Henry Winkler. And I read it more carefully and realised, luckily for me, it was a completely different Winkler. Jesse Winkler, the pastor from a Westview church in San Diego. That's something of a relief to me. Now, while I was putting all this stuff together for the show, I got a bit curious and I did an image search on Google for the word Jesus, just to see what would show up. And I was surprised to see that the 20th image that came up wasn't actually Jesus related. It's actually a picture of a celebrity. I've covered it up with a question mark. I want to see if you can guess who that celebrity is. And I'll tell you what, I'll tell you the answer when we come back from this short break. Welcome back to Modern Life is Goodish. My name is Dave Gorman, and before the break, I showed you the result of a Google image search for the word Jesus. Now, the 20th image isn't a picture of Jesus. As far as I can tell, it wasn't even Jesus-related. It is a picture of a celebrity, but the question is, which celebrity is it? Does anyone here have a guess? Put your hand up if you think you have a guess. On the front here, there's a guy. The microphone's with you now, sir.
Jason Orange.
Jason Orange, very good. Just because you were going to say Jason Orange, there was someone over there. Yes, sir, what's your guess?
I think it's you.
You think it's me? That's very flattering and a bit stalkerish and weird. No, you're wrong. The correct answer is, obviously, Julia Roberts. Julia Roberts, ladies and gentlemen. Imagine being Julia Roberts and looking up the word Jesus on Google Images. How weird would that be? Imagine searching for Jesus and discovering your own face at number 20. What's really weird is if you search for Julia Roberts, do you know what the 20th face you find is? It's also Julia Roberts. Coincidence? I think not. Now, a little while ago, I was working in Montreal and I went with a friend to get a late night snack from a sports bar. Now, my friend is Canadian, although he lives here in the UK, but he is Canadian, and we were both on a trip to Montreal. And he's decided that he wants to get some chicken wings. And this is the menu that we found ourselves looking at. Now, as you can see, they have this sliding scale of heat at the bottom here. The coolest is salt and pepper, and the hottest is kamikaze. From salt and pepper, you slide it up one, and you arrive at buffalo, which looks like that. You slide it up another, and you arrive at bullseye, which looks like that. You slide it up one more, and you arrive at Asian, and that looks like that. Now, I admit, I found this a bit offensive. It's low-level offence, it's just a bit off. And I'm in a foreign country, and everywhere you go has different sensibilities. I'm sure there are plenty of things in British life that a Canadian might find a bit offensive too. But my friend didn't want this level of heat. He wanted to push it one more level. And this is where it gets interesting. What flavour have I hidden from you here, ladies and gentlemen? What do you think is hotter than Asian, but cooler than uppercut? Again, I'm going to throw this out. Anyone who wants to have a guess at this, so put your hand up if you think you might have a guess. Yes, sir.
I'll go Indian.
Indian, OK. I can see where your thoughts are coming from. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ. Is that an exclamation or is that your guess? Well, no, you're wrong. The correct answer, if you push it on one, you arrive at that. 911. Now, to a North American or a Canadian, 911 is the phone number for emergency services. It's their equivalent to 999. It's the number you would ring if you wanted to call out the fire brigade, which is why the chicken wing is dressed up as a firefighter. But my friend, who is Canadian, didn't say 911. He said, "I'll have the 911, please." Yeah. Exactly, yeah. And the girl behind the counter, being ever so polite, just went, I think you mean the 911, sir. And he went, no, 911. 3 times that happened. I was there just trying to make myself smaller. What's weirder than him being able to imagine a place naming a chicken wing 911 is the fact that he also thinks they'd do that and it wouldn't be the hottest flavour. Who would imagine it's 9/11 and it's somehow cooler than an uppercut? Eventually, it was getting horribly embarrassing. I had to step in and say, oh, look, I think you're upsetting her, and you know, this is getting a bit out of hand. And he realised what he'd said. And he sort of panicked a bit, and so he cancelled his order and went, oh, no, sorry, I won't have that then. But that kind of made it worse, because now he looks like a man who's demanding 9/11 chicken wings and then discovering that they're only 911 chicken wings and saying, no, I don't want those anymore, no. To make it worse, he changed his order to kamikaze. Making him look like a lunatic who will only eat chicken wings if they're associated with a particular kind of death and destruction, right? Now, I tell you this not to try and cause offence, but to illustrate how easy it is to cause offence without trying. But there are other instances where it feels like people are deliberately trying to stir up feelings. Not necessarily by being offensive, but by drawing your attention to things and stoking the coals. I mean, things like this, right? This is a story from the Mail Online from before the Olympics. The story is that the contract to provide flags to the Olympics, flags for every nation, including our own, was awarded to a French company. Now, you'd think from the wording, the stirring moment is set to be disturbed by a deeply unpatriotic fact. The Union Jacks rising above the nation's heroes will be made by the French. That the Mail think it's wrong to have flags made elsewhere. Which is odd, because in their online shop, they sell this Union flag gift set, which, and I have checked, is made in China. So maybe they're not that bothered after all. But plenty of other people were. I visited countless websites where this scandal was being discussed by the outraged and the disgusted. I visited several sites because I have a hobby. My hobby is collating the more eccentric comments I find littered around the internet, which is what I've done with people's comments on this Olympic flag scandal. I've turned those comments into something that I like to call a found poem, which I would like to perform for you now. A nation's flag should be made with passion. Only British workers can make a British flag properly. I, for one, will never stand and salute a Union Jack made by French hands. For crying out loud, it is not a Union Jack. It is a Union flag. It is only a Union Jack when it's on a ship. This is a junior school level fact. Or at least it was when I was at school. I suppose these days our children are more likely to learn about gay sex and foreigners. Franz, why France? Why, of all places, France? I'll tell you this. My great-grandfather didn't fight France in 2 world wars. Just so we could let them make our flag. A spokesman says the company won the tender fair and square. And that's the problem, right there. It shouldn't be fair. It should only be open to British companies. It should be patriotic before it is fair. I wouldn't be surprised to learn that this French company bid low on purpose just to win this contract. The Union Jack is not our flag. I've seen our new flag. It is a white cross on a white background. Open brackets, I'm saying we have surrendered, close brackets. Open brackets, a white flag is a flag of surrender, close brackets. There is only one event we will get a gold medal in. Having a French company make our flag. I thank you. Thank you, the Bill Ross String Quartet, ladies and gentlemen, the Bill Ross String Quartet. We'll be taking a quick break and we'll be right back. We're back soon. Welcome back to Modern Life is Goodish. My name is Dave Gorman, and I was walking down the road the other day when I saw something that piqued my curiosity. I was walking home from the tube, and about halfway down my local high street, there is an ice cream van. Now, I was about 5 yards shy of the ice cream van when I noticed that at the front of the queue, there were 4 Muslim women. And they were all wearing the niqab. If you don't know what that is, it is the full face veil. Now, they all bought 99s. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I think it is human to be curious. And I had never seen this before, and I don't think it would be human of me if I wasn't at least a little bit curious as to how that was going to pan out. I want to stress there is no prejudice involved in that thought. And I'm not especially proud of this, but I became aware that I was slowing down. I wanted to slow down because I wanted to make sure I was still there in the vicinity when they began eating their ice creams. And I've thought a lot about this since. I've thought about whether I should have just approached them and said, hello, I'm sorry to trouble you. I'm just curious, forgive me. I just want to know how you're going to eat that ice cream. But I couldn't, because let's face it, that would be weird under any circumstances. You change this situation and make that a woman I know who isn't wearing a niqab, and hello, can I watch you eat an ice cream? That's still weird, isn't it? It's still uncomfortable. But I found myself slowing down, and as I approached them, they still hadn't started eating it, and I passed them, and they still hadn't started eating it, and I dawdled, and I'm ashamed of this, but I got my phone out as if I was checking messages, and then I suddenly caught myself, and I realised what I was doing. I thought, hang on, I am now just a strange man standing in the street looking at women I don't know, and that's definitely weird and possibly intimidating, and you just need to let this go. And so I walked home, and when I got home, I was too embarrassed to tell my wife what had just happened, but I couldn't leave it. My head would keep thinking about it. And incidentally, it does occur to me that if anyone is turning on their TV now and seeing that on the screen, they might well be thinking, bloody hell, catchphrase has got weird, hasn't it? I tell you what, I can feel the image makes some people a bit uncomfortable. Even though there's genuinely no edge to this, I'm not trying to politicise it in any way. This really is just about my curiosity. But I will take the picture away. I don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable. Although actually now that's just a bit patronising, isn't it? Because that is a perfectly innocent image. There is no criticism involved. It's not insulting anyone. I shouldn't really take it away just because I'm worried about how other people might interpret it. Really, I shouldn't. I'll put it back. How the hell did she do that? You turn your back for 1 minute? What happened? That's all this is about. That's all this is about. I just wanted to know how that would happen in real life. And I really don't think being curious makes me bad. But I gave up and I went home and I still don't know what technique they were going to adopt. I know there's only really 2 options. They were either just going to lift the veil and get on with it, or they were going to go somewhere more secluded and discreet. And I don't know if that says anything about what other people who wear niqabs would do. Maybe everyone has different techniques, I don't know. Now, I was aware that I was thinking about it for a few days, but it turns out that even when I stopped thinking about it, my brain carried on thinking about it behind my back. I know this because a few days later, at about 4 in the morning, I woke up with a start. I sat bolt upright, and the suddenness of it woke my wife as well, and she turned to me and said, "Are you all right?" And I said, "Yeah, I was just having a weird dream." And she said, "What about?" And I said, "Well, about how to eat an ice cream when you're wearing a niqab." And as I said it, I immediately wished that I had told her what had happened a few days earlier, because having this land completely out of the blue just made it even weirder. But she said, "What?" And I told her again, and she said, "But I don't wear a niqab." And I said, No, not you. I mean, people who do. I invented a thing in my dream. I invented a thing. It's a veil, but it's on tracks, like a drawer, and it moves forward. And the fabric stretches, and concertina's out and concertina's back, and when it's out, you can put anything you like in there, and it's behind the veil. You can eat an ice cream or a snack. It's just there. It's hidden, and it was wonderful. It protects your modesty. And in my dream, I thought we were going to be millionaires. In my dream, I thought I'd invented something important. And she said, "Well, that's okay. It's just a dream. It's just silly." I said, "No, you don't understand. In my dream, I was on Dragon's Den." And Theo and Deborah were putting up the money. They were in. But when they asked me if I had a name for it, I told them I did. And I don't know how I had a name for it. I don't know how I invented it. My subconscious has invented it and named it. I told them what I was going to call it, and they instantly withdrew the money. She said, "What? Theo Pathetus and Deborah Meaden withdrew the money because of the name?" She said, "Well, what the hell was it?" I said, "It was the Niqab Bock of Glory." I didn't mean anything by it. I really didn't. Didn't mean any harm. That is what happens if you put a stopper in my conscious mind's curiosity. If you tell me you're not allowed to ask about this and you shouldn't want to know about this, my subconscious is still going to go out and play with it. And I think it's a shame that we sometimes choose to carry on living in ignorance because we're worried that asking a question will cause offence. And these are always tricky areas to discuss in this environment. If anyone who does what I do for a living mentions these topics, there will always be people who expect offence and look for offence, whether any is intended or not. Now, I'm trying my hardest, and I hope you can see that I'm treading carefully. I'm trying to pick the right words. And the truth is, I would be upset if anyone was offended. Now, I think some context would probably help here. It's only fair for me to lay my own cards on the table and explain my own background. I am an atheist. But I hope I make no judgments about anyone who isn't. And that's partly, I think, because I was raised in a home of faith. I'm curious to know how many of you can tell, from what little you know of me so far, what faith I was raised in. So just for the hell of it, I'll give you a multi-choice. Do you think, ladies and gentlemen, I was raised A, Christian, B, Jewish, or C, Buddhist? By show of hands, who here thinks I was raised in a Christian home? Okay, a few of you. Who here, by show of hands, thinks I was raised in a Jewish home? Okay, a sort of 50-50 split between the two. And who here thinks I was raised in a Buddhist home? Yeah, a few idiots craving attention. Yeah. The truth is, ladies and gentlemen, that I was raised in a Christian home. Until recently, my father was a church warden at his local church. I used to have to say the Lord's Prayer before bed, grace before Sunday lunch, and so on. I am a lower middle-class man from the middle of the country. Everything in British cultural life is aimed at me and people like me. It's a very comfortable place to be. But I'm not surprised to see so many people thinking that I'm Jewish, because that confusion seems to happen all the time with me. And I have no idea what I'm doing to give people that impression. It genuinely happens all the time. A while ago, a friend sent me a copy of a Jewish lifestyle magazine called J Lifestyle. It's not the clearest, they've got a blue J against a blue background, but it is there, J Lifestyle. Now, this came from my friend with a note attached. It said, "You'll enjoy this copy of the magazine, Dave. You're in it." P.S. I didn't know that you were one of the tribe. His words, his words. Imagine how feverishly a Gentile can flick through a Jewish lifestyle magazine when they've been given that information. I found the page in question. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen. 25 literary Jews. J Lifestyle pays tribute to Jewish authors and their contribution to the world of literature. And I am number 12. That's weird, isn't it? You think they'd have a register? You'd think they'd know who's in and who isn't, surely, you would think, wouldn't you? Really weirdly, number 13 is John Ronson, who's a friend of mine, and boy, was he pissed off about that, let me tell you. Weirder than that, number 14 is Sol Bellow. Sol Bellow, Canadian-born author, born Solomon Bellows, who won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1976. Nobel Prize, number 14, not Jewish, number 12. What else do we know about Sol Bellow? Many of his books had Jewish themes, although he was uncomfortable with... What was he uncomfortable with exactly? Being labelled a Jewish writer. I know exactly how he feels. I know exactly how he feels. This is weird, isn't it? I wasn't sure how I'm supposed to respond. Am I supposed to write to them, pointing out they've made a mistake? Will they misunderstand if I do that? Will they think I'm offended by the idea that they think I'm Jewish, and will that make me look anti-Semitic, which I'm not? I'm not. I'm just not Jewish, you know? I don't know what to do, but I'll tell you what. This magazine is amazing. I subscribed. And I will tell you more about it when we come back from this short break. Welcome back to Modern Life is Goodish, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dave Gorman, and before the break, I was showing you a Jewish lifestyle magazine called J Lifestyle, a magazine that had come to my attention after they had wrongly added me to a list of 25 Jewish authors, despite my not being Jewish. Now, I really am from the middle of that cultural Venn diagram of Britain. I really am, and I'm aware of how lucky that makes me. I can see, however, that if you're from the fringes, if you're part of a minority of any kind, there is a need to band together, to celebrate your successes, to build your identity. I get that. But if you're not from a minority and you're invited into the huddle with them, it can look bloody strange in there. This is what I mean. They have a section in this magazine where they show paparazzi photos of celebrities, but only Jewish celebrities. And they have a TV listings page where they can tell you where you can watch Jews on TV. That's just a TV listings page going, oh, look, there's one, there might be some in here. That's weird, if you ask me. Nothing could have been more of a shoo-in for a TV listings page than when the BBC ran a TV show called Jews. How could that not get it? How could they not? Imagine if these things had appeared in anything other than a Jewish lifestyle magazine. Imagine you got your regular Sunday newspaper and inside it there was a supplement called Here's Where All the Jews Are. All of a sudden that becomes highly offensive, doesn't it? Now, I can't help seeing this through my Gentile eyes and finding it momentarily weird and a little bit offensive before I realise I'm the one who's in the huddle he's not supposed to be in. Now, I did say this happens to me all the time, and I don't want anyone thinking, oh, you're just making hay out of one example. It's not just this. It really does happen all the time. This is another. This is a website called somethingjewish.co.uk. This is an article they wrote about the magician David Blaine. And as you can see, at the bottom here, it says, 6 things that tell us why David Blaine is Jewish. Let's examine those 6 things, ladies and gentlemen. In particular, number 6, which I've erased for now so I can reveal it to you in stages. Number 6, his first name is David. A good Jewish name, as endorsed by other famous Jews called David. These include King David, rock star David Lee Roth, fellow magician David Copperfield, and, of course, Britain's very own Dave Gorman. I'm not Jewish. I'm not. I'll say it again. I am not offended that anyone thinks I am. I am not offended in the slightest, but I'm just not Jewish. And surely being called David isn't enough, is it? Surely the Welsh are going to have something to say about that, aren't they? Surely. This is an email sent to me by my manager, by someone who sent it to him, someone whose name I've blocked out because I don't want to cause any embarrassment to them, OK? I know there's a lot of information here. You don't need to read it all. I'll give you the pertinent details. Dear Rob, I hope you're well. I have a request from Dame Hilary Bloom to Dave Gorman. Dame Hilary Bloom? A dame? No idea who she is, but she's after me. She sent me this email. Dame Hilary has recently set up an organisation called the Young Jewish Philanthropist Network. Basically, this is a request asking me to host a particular charity night for this particular charity. Now, at no point in this email does it ever say, as a Jew, I'm sure that Dave would be keen to support this cause. But it's there, isn't it? In the DNA of the email, it's there between the lines. Now, as it goes, I was working that night. I couldn't do it. It was very easy to reply saying, I can't do it, I'm busy. But they want to do 3 or 4 of these a year. So if I say no to that one, they'll just say, well, what about the next? And then it'll get a bit more awkward because I'm not answering the question that they're not asking, but that they have asked. So I wrote back to my manager saying, look, can you tell them I'm busy, but while you're doing it, can you explain that I'm not Jewish? But make sure you do it in a way that means they don't think I'm offended that they thought I was. I just want them to know that I'm not. And it's OK. I'll still do one in the future if they know that I'm not and they still want me to do one. I just don't want me to do one if I turn up and then they find out I'm not and that makes it awkward for them. I just want everyone to know what's going on. It's fine. I tied myself up in knots, trying not to cause any offence. My manager loves this kind of nonsense. He just wrote back to me saying, have you been pretending you're Jewish again? I haven't. I don't understand why this happens. I have no idea where this comes from. I asked one of my Jewish friends, why do you think that so many people think I'm Jewish? He said, you look a bit Jewish, you've got quite a big nose. Bloody hell! I said, if I said that to you, you would tell me that I was being racist. He said, you would be, you're not Jewish. How does that work? That's not bloody fair, is it? That's not right. This is the one that takes the biscuit. Same magazine, 25 funniest Jews. I wasn't bloody in it. That is taking the piss, if you ask me. That is taking the piss. That is, I'm either in the gang or I'm not, if you ask me. That is not bloody... Fucking Krusty the Clown's in it. He's a cartoon. How can I not be more Jewish than a cartoon? That is taking the blood of bloody Jews. That was wrong. And I would like to apologise for any offence that I might have caused. But do you know what was even more wrong? That you laughed at it, ladies and gentlemen. You want to take a good, long, hard look at yourselves. I mean, it's all right for me, because I'm Jewish, but... I'm not. I really have. I've tried my hardest to talk about these things in a way that doesn't offend people, and it really would upset me if anyone was offended. But there is actually one thing from tonight's show that I feel a little bad about. I have a bit of a confession to make about the Jesus T-shirt. I was just having fun. I didn't mean to upset anyone, but I am aware that some people, amongst all the abusive comments people had left, saying, that's not him, that's a juggler, what are you thinking about, you idiot? There were a few people there going, oh yeah, no, that's Jesus, you're right, God works in mysterious ways, and so on. And I feel a little bit bad about them because I know in my heart that that isn't a picture of Jesus. And I don't just mean, well, I'm an atheist, so it wasn't him. I mean, you know, you might be thinking, well, you did try to make a picture of Jesus, so it kind of is. What I mean is, I know it wasn't a picture of Jesus because I know who it was a picture of. Now, I've already explained that I made it and that it's bleach and not, as the headline said, fabric conditioner, but I think it's worth me explaining it in a bit more detail. So this is the image, and to make it, I used this stencil. If I lay one picture on top of the other, you can see how they correlate pretty closely. Now, I made that stencil by printing this image on an acetate and then cutting it out using a craft knife. And then I tried applying bleach to various different items, including an old bath mat, just to see which fabrics behave best and which one would give me the most convincingly accidental image. And as it turned out, it was the T-shirt. But because I made the stencil, I know what I used to make the stencil. And it definitely wasn't Jesus. Because that stencil was based on this picture, which was based on this picture, which was based on this photograph that I took of the TV one day during an episode of Deal or No Deal. That wasn't a picture of Jesus, ladies and gentlemen, that was a picture of Noel Edmonds. the fabric softener Jesus that went viral was actually a fabric softener Noel Edmonds. And that is patently ridiculous because there is nothing messianic about Noel.
Good afternoon, pilgrims. Welcome, pilgrims. Hello, pilgrims. Hello, pilgrims.
Nothing at all.
Let's be honest, put your hands up if you're not a pilgrim.
It's just me then? Just me? You're all pilgrims. Okay. Now, obviously, ladies and gentlemen, I am aware that we have talked about a tricky subject tonight, and it leads us, I think, needing a kind of group hug. But we can't have a group hug. It's just not practically possible. But we have the next best thing, which is one more extra found poem, ladies and gentlemen. Now, many people would have it that science and faith are at loggerheads, that there is some competitive edge between them, that only one can be true. I don't see it that way, but many do. And nothing brought this to my mind more than recently when the Higgs boson particle was found. It was announced. This is a particle that was meant to explain all science, open avenues to whole new knowledge. It was predicted by Higgs. It was proven to be true. And many papers named it the God particle. And you can see how a name like that would ire some people. I've taken the comments I found on the many stories. It was all over the papers, the many stories in which people were discussing this. I've turned them, ladies and gentlemen, into something that I like to call a found poem, which I would like to perform for you now. 3 cheers for Higgs boson. Hig, hig, hooray. Can someone please tell me in what way this Higgs boson particle is going to make our lives better? Will it make cars faster? Will it make toasters cheaper? I, for one, cannot see how. But if it is of no practical benefit, then what is it for? It seems to me that science has long since gone beyond the point of being useful and entered the realm of just being silly. It is time for science to stop. Hig, hig, hooray. I bought 2 Jack Russell puppies this week. I was going to call them Ant and Dec. But after this brilliant discovery, I have decided to call them Higgs and Boson instead. If you would be interested in interviewing me about it and photographing the 2 pups, then I would be very happy to oblige. Is it called the Higgs boson particle or the God particle? It cannot be both. And the confusion leaves me with the rather unpleasant impression that Mr. Higgs boson thinks he is God. Higgs isn't even the one who found the particle. So why does it carry his name? He did nothing more than guess at its existence. Well, guess what? I'm now imagining a particle that will explain even more than his particle. And when scientists find it, I'm going to sit back and soak up all the glory. It's this kind of ego that makes me sick. Does this discovery prove that God exists? If so, I congratulate the boffins. If, however, it proves that God does not exist, then I have to say I'd rather they hadn't bothered. But of course, like most science, I suspect it does neither one thing nor the other. Hig, hig, hooray. I thank you. Thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Whatever God you favour, I wish you well, and may your Noel Edmonds go with you. Thanks for watching. Good night.